Here's my 2.7 liter 5-cylinder Mercedes diesel engine. I figured I'd make a quick video just going over the components in the engine compartment. It's something that took me quite a while to figure out where everything is, and I just figured it might help someone who either owns a Sprinter van or is looking to buy one. It helps to know where everything's at. So just a basic quick intro for the overall engine compartment of a Sprinter. This is a 2004 Sprinter. The 04 to 06 are the same engine and same layout. The 02 and 03 I believe have a slightly different engine, but they are the same layout as well. The 07 Plus is completely different, so this might not really be applicable, although in reality a lot of the parts are the same, so you might be able to figure things out for a newer Sprinter engine as well. So let's just start at the left hand side of the compartment and we'll work our way to the right. Keep in mind, I'm not an expert by any means. I'm a DIYer, so if I say something wrong, don't get your panties in a bunch. Just leave a comment and let me know. We'll get the right information out there, and if I miss something, also just let me know, and happy to add it in. So just starting on the left hand side, we have the windshield wiper reservoir there, so just putting your little fluid in there, not a big deal. The air filter for the engine is in this compartment. There's two clips, one here and there, and removing those clips or popping them off, you can easily replace the air filter. Up here is the blower motor that supplies the air to the cabin, and right above it, that's the blower motor resistor. Oftentimes those need to get replaced. When they go bad, you start to notice that the cabin air isn't really supplying a whole lot, so it's not really forcing air into the cabin all that much. Behind this box here is the cabin air filter, so separate than the engine air filter, but it's good to replace that every now and again. Coming back down, we can see back here this silver component is the turbo. So this is a turbocharged diesel engine, and that is the turbo there. Right below the turbo is the turbo resonator, and that turbo resonator is replaced on a lot of these older vans because the OEM part had a high instance of failure. So likely if you're looking at an older van, it's going to have an updated part, and this is indeed an aftermarket turbo resonator. If we follow the pipe, which is kind of hard to see here, but it comes down and around, and it leads into this white piece here, so you can kind of see where the end of the pointer is. That white piece is the beginning of the intercooler. The intercooler runs between the condenser and the radiator for the engine cooling system. I had no idea about the intercooler when I first started poking around in this, so it was really helpful to know that there was actually a third radiator in there. And we'll touch on the intercooler a little bit later. So coming up to the engine itself, we've got this little input here. You pop that cap off and you can put a dipstick in to measure the fluid in the transmission. You have to buy your own dipstick because they did not come with one. They wanted you to go to the dealership to check the transmission fluid. And of course you have your oil dipstick here. The little red handle there is the oil dipstick, and then of course the lid to fill the oil after you change it. So you pop that off and put oil in there. Back here there's a valve, and that valve is responsible for sending coolant to the heater. So when you turn the heater on, this valve opens up and it allows coolant to flow to the heater core so you can get heat into the cabin. So when the heater's off, it just allows the coolant to only circulate in the engine channels. So that's a good part to know about. If your heater does start going, it could be any number of things, and that being one of them. On the front of the engine here, we've got what I believe is the vacuum pump here and the diesel fuel pump here. So I believe vacuum pump, diesel pump, fuel pump, and I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm about 90% sure that that's what those components are. Now coming down, you can kind of see in here the first pulley up here, if you can see that, is the water pump, and then the pulley below it is the alternator pulley. So you have your alternator down there and then your water pump up here. Good to know where those are at. And then if you look in the middle here, you'll see these white fan blades. Now in the middle of those white fan blades, there's these silver fins. Those silver fins are the fan clutch, and if you start to notice any heating issues with the van as it's going uphill or something, fan clutch is a good place to start oftentimes because it's easy to replace and it's fairly cheap. So good to know where your fan clutch is. The thermostat is right here, and you can see on this engine, I replaced the thermostat not too long ago, so it is newer. It's the silver piece there, and we can come in from the side and get another view of it. That's the thermostat right there. Good to know about. And then you have your EGR valve up here. You can take that off and clean it, make sure there's no gunk building up. Just make sure you don't take off the wrong screws. You want to take this bolt, that bolt, and that bolt off if you're going to clean it. If you remove the other two, you'll take the EGR apart and then you'll have to get a new one, and they're fairly expensive, so try not to do that. Way back here, you might be able to see right there, that is an electric coolant pump. That electric coolant pump is working with the auxiliary system. So this van has an SPAR D5 coolant heater, which is this box down here. You can see the big box goes all the way over here. That's the SPAR D5 coolant heater located right behind the driver's side light. That coolant heater is something that comes optional on most of the vans, and I believe most of the cargo and delivery vans, that comes with the van. And then as far as I know, the passenger vans, the ones that were seated, did not have that coolant heater. I'm not 100% sure on that. I just know this one has the SPAR D5 and a lot of them don't. So it's good to know when it is there. This one doesn't work. I have to fix it up a little bit. Alright, moving on. We have the intercooler hose here. This is a common thing you'll see a lot of people replace. If it gets a little pinhole in it or something, your engine might go into limp mode and you think it's some big deal, and all you have to do is replace a single hose. So good to know about that one too. Right behind the intercooler hose, there's the oil filter there. The oil filter is really simple to replace and should be done every time you replace the oil. Right behind it is the oil cooler. It has little silver fins on there so you can see the oil cooler. This is the power steering reservoir, this big black box, and you can check the power steering fluid by just taking off the cap, and there's a little dipstick under there. The silver kind of container looking thing here, that silver is the diesel fuel filter. So it's got the sensors on there, but replacing the diesel fuel filter is somewhat simple. Takes a little bit of time, but not too hard, and it's good to do probably every 60,000 miles or so. So that's your fuel filter there. Underneath the intercooler down here, we can kind of see this big pulley here. That's for your power steering pump. So it's pumping the fluid for your power steering fluid. And then if we can get under here, you might be able to see the pulley down here. Might be hard to see, but it's pretty much the pulley directly under the power steering fluid pulley. And that pulley is for the AC compressors. So the AC compressor is right down there. Good to know in case you are troubleshooting your AC system. If you're trying to locate any leaks, you might have to check that out. Continuing on is a really important part of the cooling system, and that is the expansion/overflow tank here. That's where the radiator cap is, and you fill the coolant system in this expansion tank. It's a really vital part of the cooling system, so shouldn't be overlooked if you're troubleshooting anything. Up here we have the brake fluid reservoir, and I believe the master cylinder right below it, and then the brake booster right behind it, the big black circular thing. Over here is the AC dryer. This is the Schrader valve for the high pressure side of the AC system, and then this is the Schrader valve for the low pressure side of the system. So that's where you would hook up your gauges if you're checking the pressure in the system or recharging your AC system. Of course, you have all the fuses right here on the battery itself. So taking a step back, we can see the front radiator here. That front radiator is the condenser for your AC system. You can also see the front fan here. That's an auxiliary fan that's primarily used with your AC system. Also, if your van gets up to like 220 degrees Fahrenheit or so, that auxiliary fan is supposed to kick on as well to help cool down the system. The silver piece you see here is the top of your radiator. So this is the part that's going to be the radiator that's going to be responsible for engine cooling. So it's a fairly big one, and the expansion tank is actually connected to that radiator. So good to know about. And once again, the intercooler runs between this radiator and the condenser in front. So the intercooler is going between those two items, and it comes out on this side, and air is feeding through your intercooler hose into your in-tank manifold. Kind of good to know the flow of air and coolant and refrigerant in your system, so you can troubleshoot all that. I'm also just going to point out the little horns down here. The horns were bad on the van when I got it, or I should say horn, and I did a lot of troubleshooting, checking fuses and whatnot, and it ended up just being the horn itself, and I didn't realize how cheap replacements were. So I think I got these horns for $20, and they sound a whole lot better. So that was a good little replacement and easy to do as well. Now, I believe that's just about everything that I was looking to go over for this video. It gives you a real quick rundown of the entire engine compartment, and I hope you found that helpful. It would have helped me to just have a video to go over it real quick. So if you liked the video, please comment, like, subscribe to the channel for some more van videos and other projects. It really helps us out, and I really appreciate everyone who does that. So, and if there's anything I missed, once again, please just leave a comment and let me know, because I am more than happy to add a little annotation or something to add it to the video. It's good for everyone's knowledge. So I really appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great day, and we'll see you soon.